9:35 on this Thursday edition of Del Aware. And come Thursdays, well, you get new jobless numbers. The number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits fell, but still at a historically high 847,000 last week. It's a sign that layoffs kind of keep coming as the pandemic rages on. Want to talk about that and some other stuff this morning, as we often do, checking in with Chris Burkhart, Placer Staffing in Newark. Hey, Chris, good morning.
Happy Thursday to you, Peter.
Yes, you as well. So these numbers are down, but they're still big.
Yeah. I can summarize it in 3 words. COVID, COVID, COVID.
Yeah.
I think I can share some good news. I did a little research, and, the claims are down modestly, as you said. The numbers have declined, but they're very high compared to, say, this time last year. In the last month, we went from 800,000 claims, which we were averaging for the fall, and it went over, to 950, but now we're stair-stepping down. But what's interesting is the research, the recovery is all about where you live and what's happening with COVID cases and the economic lockdowns that are very effective. So jobs in recovery improved a lot in the South last month. Warmer weather, more relaxed COVID protocols. They actually saw employment drop. Jobs were created. Now, in the Northeast, which, by the way, Delaware is not included in, Midwest and the West, they had huge surges in cases and stronger protocols and winter weather that, just hurts restaurants, bars, hotels, travel. And there's been an increase in unemployment cases. So this phenomenon is sort of rolling around the country as COVID does its thing. But overall, there were job increases in many areas, which were offset by industries, which has to be frustrating to a worker looking for work.
Yeah. I guess we have to keep in mind, too, Chris, that the pandemic surge happening at the beginning of this equation is always going to be more abrupt and more severe than the recovery on the other end. It's going to be a more gradual situation that we see improvement in than it was the just massive job losses at the beginning of this thing. And there's no way around that. That's kind of just the way these things work themselves out. That said, let me ask you about this. When we talk about the vaccine rollout, not going as quickly as we would like, but it does set this up. What impact do you think that it'll have on how workers are able to go back to work? And what should employers be thinking and planning as this part of things continues to play out?
It's the right question to be asking. Let me start by saying, I have a great pulse on the local economy, sort of the canary in the coal mine, and seeing things with work and jobs and that sort of thing. We are seeing customers begin to plan and ramp up hiring and thinking beyond pandemic. That's a huge thing, and that was not the case in Q4. So organizations are planning for the spring. They are hiring now. Why? They're expecting demand of customers. They're expecting the product to be sold more. And quite frankly, there's been such a pent-up, man-made, created shortage that people are just out of inventory, so they've got to grow. So if you're ready and able to go to work, this is great timing. But there are the hurdles, and the first thing is, right now the challenge is about getting the worker and even the business to feel confident about safety and security. Fear is very powerful. It's at what point will we feel that lift of optimism as more and more of us get that shot in the arm? And I think when we get that lift, that's what's going to break open jobs and the economy. But what I'm suggesting every day, my people are suggesting, is if you're an employer looking to hire now, be much more clear, specific about your safety protocols. We find that workers want to work. They're just scared. And understand how you're going to address that safety, how it's going to be communicated, how are you handling daily issues with it. And I think that's a really critical thing. And if you're a worker, do not be afraid to ask about these protocols. We see so many people who want to work but then back off because of these things.
It's not to make light of it, but you mentioned the safety elements and making that clear to potential employees, Chris. That's kind of like the new Free Lunch Friday. I mean, it's a very attractive thing to a lot of people that the place they are considering going to work takes safety seriously.
what we want from our jobs has shifted, and maybe it took the insanity of the last year to point that out. The shift in the administration is making worker safety front and center, sort of a national standard that's coming. But in reality, yes, I don't want a ping pong table in my break room anymore. What I want to know is that there's just hey, COVID is happening every day in the office, but do we have a good process around that? And what are we going to do about it? And that's unfortunately or fortunately that occupies a lot of our time with the workers who just need to get satisfied with that. And then, of course, we're all getting a little tired, right? We're all getting a little worn out. We think we see this bright vaccine spring. But in reality, this is the time to double down on those protocols and just make sure we're living them and we can get through this.
I'm hearkened back to one day in the summer, Chris, where I bumped into a good friend of mine who I hadn't seen due to all this. And when I say bumped in, I mean 6 feet apart, in an Acme with masks on. And I just said, how's it going? Virtual bump. I said, how's it going? And his response literally was, she hates me. Now, he was referring to his wife, also a dear friend of mine, and they're trying to find this groove because he's a big corporate guy, and now he's working at home, and it's just not jiving. And I'm sure that this is a continuing struggle for a lot of people. Any advice on how people can balance the whole work and life from the home thing?
So first off, if you have any cynics that listen, this is 40% of Americans that are working from home currently. 40. Now, it's down a little bit from the summer, but I'm not a pundit, but I think we can assume that it's going to be forever changed. So maybe 3 out of 10 Americans work from home.
Yeah.
So what you talked about in that exchange is very real. And I'd say here's the first thing. Decide if it's for you and if it fits your lifestyle and enhances your quality of life. We have talent that cannot wait to go back to work. Maybe they're extroverted and can't stand it. And then we have folks that never thought their job could be remote. And what it's done for them can't even be described in dollars and cents. But you can do anything for 6 months or 9 months of a pandemic. It's time to decide if this is for you, because those choices are going to have to be made in the next quarter or two. Second thing, you cannot work from the kitchen table anymore. If you're staying home, you got to have dedicated space. You got to turn that extra bedroom into your office, and you got to get serious about it. Peter, I'd go on if you want more. I don't know if you want me to cover anything else.
Let's do one more. Let's do one more to send him off with.
You got it. This is a tough one, but you've got to work on and manage your career. It's great to be working from home, but we're all responsible for our own careers anyway. But if you are remote, it's up to you to create visibility, virtual visibility. Are you volunteering for the right projects? Do you know your team the way you would if they sat in the cubicle next to you? It's really easy to do your laundry at lunch or to have this perfect lifestyle plan, but it is up to us to nurture and maintain and build those relationships in that virtual world so that your career is taken care of.
Chris Burkhardt here, Placer Staffing in Newark, joins us periodically to talk about all things job-related, which obviously has never been more important to those that are out there listening right now. Chris, if people want to take a look at some of the things that you might offer in your firm, where can they go?
You can search and just look up My Placers. We always have, which I think it's become a philosophy at this point, but we just believe in acts of kindness. So if anyone is struggling with any aspect of the job search, or if you're an employer that just can't figure this out, if you need a resume, if you want to talk about leads, frankly, we're just helping people get back on their feet. So myplacers.com.
Love it. Chris, thanks as always for the time. Thanks as always for the great info. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter.
All right. Have a nice weekend.